Um, hey, junkies. Just, I had another friend die the other day from overdose. Why does it seem like nobody gives a rip if a drug addict dies? Um, Off the top of my head, in the last year, five people that I knew really well. Um, One of those was a really good friend um, that I met in my addiction. And I went to his funeral. That's the only funeral I went to somebody that had OD'd, and it was terrible. It was soul crushing. I was still using at the time, so it was fucking uh, horrible. And I've had family. I've had a second cousin who was young. My cousin who had a heart attack or whatever. Um, Man, I stopped counting a couple years ago, and I was at 300. So, one of the reasons is when you're using when you're in it pretty hard, every relationship that you have is transactional. It just happens to be that way. You're living in survival mode. So like there's like water and food almost come second. Um, you know, I would forget the last time I ate. I had to make sure. I was so worried about not having what I needed. I didn't want to be sick. I didn't want to. I got to a point where, um, man. So a friend that I hung out with in my addiction, she passed. A lot of people probably know who I'm talking about. Um, we talked over the years because we were both getting clean on and off, and she always called me hiccup. I always called her fuck up, or vice versa. So it's just sad, and it makes me think of the other people in addiction that are still there, that was there with me, and it was hell. And it just sometimes it's like the worst. I look back, I'm a little ways away from my addiction now, but I look back and I can't believe just, putting up with that. But it's almost like it didn't matter. As long as you got what you needed, everything would be fine. And then when you didn't have it, then you were on a mission, and that's the only thing that mattered. So everything else went out the window. You wanted to be a good dad. You wanted to talk to your kids. You wanted to go make money for your son's mothers or whatever. But, you get far enough down a hole, and it doesn't matter anymore. So, man, I just hope, you know, say a prayer, do something. If you know somebody in addiction, call them. And, you don't have to give them any money. You don't have to give them anything. Just let them know that you're thinking about them. And that, there is a way to do it, and they can do it. And it's easier than they think. I mean, it's harder and easier, if that even makes any sense. Like, you have to go through a little bit of pain, but it doesn't take much to do it if you really want that. And I understand, like, how resilient you become in a drug addiction. I know how special human beings are because I've seen how far somebody will go in order to use. I mean, health is gone. All friends are gone. You're relying on strangers that the only reason that you talk to them is because you both have the same goal in mind. So it's funny how that can bring people together. And, there's a big act about what's going on, but, um, I always knew it. That's why I didn't pretend like anything was going to get better, or, I just wanted to stay in it until I had my next chance to try to get clean again, because I saw where I'd taken my cousin. My cousin had lost most of his teeth, and he pulled out most of them by himself. Um, I got one of my teeth pulled, and that was it. I spent almost a month in jail, and that was it. That was enough for me. I had to do something, and I got very lucky. I got very lucky. They dropped my charges. I had very little amount on me that they caught me with. Somebody set me up, but they could have hammered me, and they didn't. I went to rehab for 6 months, and they dropped it. So if you do the right thing, like, good things will happen. I can see my son now. I have a car. I have a place to live. I paid all my bills. I'm not worried about shit. Um, the only thing I worry about now is the people I used with, like, getting a message from someone that they OD, that they're no longer here. That sucks. Like, I had some really good friends, really good people. It's a miracle that I'm here. So, um, I just wanted to make this video, and, you know, if anybody's out there and they need help, the best place to go is to a meeting. Go find a meeting. There's people in there just like you and me. They were just at the same. They felt like a scumbag. They felt like the worst person in the world. And, there's people in those meetings with 5, 10 years clean, maybe almost with 2 years clean like me, and even less. And they all get it. Those people are your friends. They will do anything to help you stay clean. That's just the one thing. Like, they know all the tricks. They know, all the manipulation tactics. You're walking into a room full of people just like you. So it doesn't seem like that at first, because, everybody looks the same until you get to know them, until you start going to meetings, and there's people there that will tell you, I'm here to help you. I understand. I've been through it. I've lived on the street. I've sold myself for drugs, everything, all that shit. I've stuck a needle in my arm. Uh, you know, I spent all my child support. I spent all the grocery money. I spent everything, and I was ashamed. I felt like a piece of schnitzel, you felt like a piece, right? And they all know those feelings. They all went to meetings, got like a mentor, got somebody that they could talk to about it, and got that shit off them, you know? Um, you can't get better until you own up to that stuff. And there's no trick in these people. That's why, it's a hard thing to do until you're forced to do it. But, if anybody's seen that death and it's affected them, or the last couple, like, 5 people, maybe the last 6 months that I was really close with, even in my using, some of them that were family, but, we all make our own choices. And, I remember, when I was an addict, a couple of my family members now that I talk to, told me they had to write me off because they couldn't they couldn't keep worrying about me, worrying if I was gonna, die, or hearing about me, or hearing something that happened. They couldn't keep doing that to themselves, and I don't blame them. I told them I think it's best if you just wrote me off. And, like, some people, sometimes being fucked up and you feel like you're off the path, sometimes that is the path. Sometimes we got to go through what we go through. So, there's no being ashamed. There's nothing that you can't come back from. Yes, there are some really serious issues that it's hard to come back from, but trust me, like, it's so much better this way. I love you all. Stay safe.